This video is going to show you how to change some of the properties of a form. I currently have a form in Design View in which I have various text boxes and labels. The text boxes are the actual bound controls that are tied to the table, where your labels are unbound controls and they can be modified any way you want. The bound controls are really bound to the table, so you have limited things to change. You can change the width and the height and all that, but they're actually tied to the data that's in the table. So let's first start by taking the last name text box. So I'm just going to choose my last name text box. I've opened up my property sheet by clicking on my property button, and I want to take the left property and make it 3.35. And that's going to move that text box 3.35 from the left edge of the form. I'm going to take the caption, or the last name label. I'm going to take the caption, and I'm actually going to put a space in between the word last and name. And I'm going to make the width of it 0.8. I'm going to make the left property 2.5. And I'm going to select text align, and I'm going to make it right align. By general, it's by default. I'm going to make it right, so it follows on the right hand edge of that label control. Okay, with my last name label still selected, I'm going to hold my shift key down and select my first name label and text box. And I'm going to come up here to my Design Tools Arrange tab, and I want to align them to the top. So I moved them up to the top of the last name, first name. I'm going to select my multilingual text box, and I'm going to make that a 0.3 width. And I'm going to make the left property 5.5. I'm going to take my multilingual label, and I'm going to make that left property 4.6. And I also want to take the text align and make that fall on the right edge, so it falls on the right edge of the control. With that label still selected, I'm going to hold my shift key, and I'm going to select the multilingual text box and the employee num text box, and I'm going to align them to the top. So that's going to bring it up to the top, so they're now aligned on the top side. I'm going to select my employee num label and change the caption to employee, get rid of the word number, space ID. Now remember, a caption is just going to change the label altogether. With the label still selected, I'm going to hold my shift key. I'm going to select first name, date hired, and phone label. I'm going to make them all a width of 1. I'm going to change the left property to 0.4. And I'm going to align the text right. I'm going to select my date hired text box and label. Hold your shift key down when you want to select both, and enter 1 inch to the top. I'm going to select the phone label and my text box, and I'm going to enter the top property of 1.3. So it moves it up. I want to put a space between first and last name label and date and hired. So I'm just going to come over to first name, and in the caption, put a space, and also in your date hired label, put a space. I'm going to select the specialties text box, and I'm going to have a top property of 1.4 and a left property of 2.8. I'm going to take the specialties label and change the caption to I specialize in with a colon. I'm going to enter 1 inch width, and I'm going to put it at 1.1 top, and I'm going to make it 3.5 on the left. I'm going to select the About text box and enter a width of 5. I'm going to change the top property to 2.3, and I'm going to make the left property 0.8. And then I'm going to take the About label and change the caption property to say About Me, and I'm going to make the width 0.7, the top property 2, and the left property 0.8. So if I save my changes and I go to Form View, you can see that I've moved all my properties around to a different, so it looks like an interesting different form. I'm going to continue with additional changing properties in a moment. But let's first go back to Design View. And the next thing I want to do is just unselect any of the controls and click in the Detail area. And I'm going to hover over my lower portion of my detailed section. And I'm going to click, hold, and drag it up so that it's at the 3-inch mark on my vertical ruler. So it falls right at 3 inch. I'm going to hover over the right edge of the detailed section, and I get my double-headed arrow, and I'm going to change the width of the form so that it's at 6.5 inches. And now I'm going to add a form in header and footer. So I'm just going to right-click on it, and I'm just going to choose Form Header Footer. And now I have a form header section and a form footer section. My form header section, I want to have a height of 0.5. And I'm going to add a label to that. So I'm just going to click on the label, come in here and click. And I'm going to go ahead and type in Agent Information Form. Hit enter. I'm going to go up to my format. I'm going to make the font 14 point. I'm going to center it in the label. I'm going to italicize it. I'm going to make the width 2.2, the height 0.25, the top property 2.2. I'm sorry, the top property 0.12 and the left property 2.2. So it moves at 2.2 inches from the left. I'm going to get rid of my form footer. So all you're going to do is just come here to the bottom of it, click, hold, and drag it up, and that removes your form footer. And that shows you some of the properties of change by changing controls in a form.